are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
What's going on, gang? Welcome to another episode of Habs After Dark. My name is Devin Maxwell. This is Recliner Sports. And again, Habs After Dark. Montreal Canadiens. Enormous victory over the Buffalo Sabres in Game 2 to tie the series at 1. Dominant performance by the Canadiens tonight. They led. They were the better team from the very first minute of the game till the very, very last minute of the game. They were the better team in every way. They stuck to their plan. They stuck to their guns. And they are now going to go back to Montreal with a 1-1 split. Yeah, I mean, just a spectacular performance by the Montreal Canadiens tonight. This is what we've been waiting for them to look like. What is up, Mr. Bolduc? Salut, bonsoir, ça va bien? Willie Schmidt. Very convincing win, says Sports Guy. Willie Schmidt says Caulfield hat-trick Game 3. We are live, guys. We are live on TikTok, and we are live on YouTube. If you're watching on TikTok, I would invite you to come and join us on YouTube so that you can take advantage of the graphics and the comment section. If you're more interested in staying on TikTok, I will try my best to answer your questions over there as well. But certainly the experience is much better over here on YouTube. We are trying to give Montreal Canadiens fans a place to speak objectively, intelligently, away from some of the usual BS that goes on the internet. We're trying to give a nice, enjoyable place where we can all talk a little bit more objectively and intelligently about the game, get away from some of the rah-rah fan stuff, the false narratives, all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to do some real talk here. So if you are interested, come on over and join us. If you are here watching, give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying what you're seeing. If you are not yet subscribed, you can do so by hitting the button down below. You can like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Aussi, c'est une émission bilingue ici. Alors, si vous avez des questions en français, des commentaires en français, on aimerait bien les entendre. Si vous voulez avoir une discussion intelligente au sujet des Canadiens, au sujet de l'hockey, j'aimerais bien faire ça aussi. Alors, vous êtes tous bienvenus. Everybody's welcome, French, English. Unfortunately, I don't really speak any other languages, but happy to discuss the game, the Habs, hockey with you in either of the languages. First line played their best game of the playoffs, no points to show, but he looked great. I think you're talking about Caulfield, no points to show, but he looked great. I thought Caulfield did look better tonight, for sure. I thought the first line did have a pretty solid game. Slavkovsky, I thought, was fantastic. Suzuki has been fantastic all playoffs, and Caulfield certainly did have his best game in a while. He finished with... how many shots on goal did he finish with? He had, where is he there? 13. Just 2 shots on goal. I thought he had a few more chances than that. I see that you said you were talking about Caulfield. I see that there now on your question there, Bolduc. But yeah, I thought he was more involved tonight. Unfortunately, he was on the ice for the goal against. Lost his coverage maybe a little bit on that play. Benson kind of, got lost behind him a little bit and was able to sneak in back door and get that goal. But, otherwise I thought Caulfield played a pretty decent game. Had a couple good scoring chances, hit that post late in the game, which would have been nice for him to get off the schneid. Slavkovsky trying to set him up on that 2-for-1, again, I think shows a little bit about the culture of this team, the identity of this team. I thought it was a great game from beginning to end. So we see 5-1 Montreal Canadiens with the victory. We've got Vegas and Anaheim, I think, are coming up here in about... they've already started. The score is 1-0 for the Golden Knights. The Golden Knights have scored on their first shot of the game. I'm going to pop that game on in the background. The goal is from Shea Theodore, his third of the year, assisted by Eichel and Stone. So yeah, if you have questions, guys, feel free to fire away. I know we're probably gonna take a minute or two here to get the full complement of people in the audience, whatever we want to call it. Coach Frenchie's gonna be going here for a little bit longer, but yeah. Once Coach Frenchie ends his show, then typically some of the people end up coming over here. Defensive play impressed me the most. Dobesh didn't get tested, but really showed up when he did. Yeah, I agree with that. I thought Dobesh had a very solid game. Dobesh to me was exactly what you want in a goaltender in the playoffs, right? You want a guy who makes the saves that need to be made, gives your team a chance to win. Like you said, he wasn't tested a lot tonight, but there were some good scoring opportunities for Buffalo tonight, and I think it was he definitely more than held his own. And I frankly, I kind of like the stuff at the end of the game where he kind of let the Buffalo players know that they weren't going to be able to throw him off his game by, running a little bit of traffic through his crease and, getting in his face, that he was more than able to respond to that, both physically and verbally. And, I thought he was fantastic tonight as well. The defensive game I thought was good too. I thought it was good in both games, really. But yeah, the defensive zone coverage, I think they kind of took things up a notch a little bit tonight. They've done a pretty good job all playoffs, really. The Tampa series was pretty tight. And they really haven't had a lot of defensive lapses in the game, in their game so far in the playoffs. So, I was impressed as well. Cheers to the Habs, boys and girls. It's going to be quiet here for a bit. He's fearless. Yeah, he doesn't back down from anything. You're right. He's a big boy, so I'm sure that he's more than capable of taking care of himself. I think mentally, I think he's one of those guys that just, nothing really bothers him. It's like water off the back of a duck. But yeah, no, I've been impressed with his mental game. I know a lot of people kind of raised some questions about his mental game. He had some, I guess we could call them breakdowns a little bit. But yeah, he's just been solid. In every way for the Canadiens so far in these playoffs. Is the Canadiens winning? Yes, Cash LeBlanc. The Canadiens won. The game is over. It was a 5-1 final for the Montreal Canadiens. Alex Newhook, what a beauty! Yeah, he's having a fantastic playoffs. What has he got now? 4 goals in the playoffs, I want to say. I'll check to be sure, but 3. Does that count tonight? Oh, he's only got 2 goals in the playoffs so far this year. I thought he had more than that. Okay, so that was his second goal of the playoffs tonight. But yeah, he's been playing really well. It's not just been about offensive production for Alex Newhook, right? He's been, he's been sort of reborn a little bit. He's killing penalties, something that he's never really done in his career prior to now. A bit of a pet project for Marty St. Louis was improving Alex Newhook's defensive game and sort of bringing his speed and his talent, his skill level or his skill set to the defensive side of the game. And Newhook now is a go-to penalty killer for the Montreal Canadiens. And he's a good penalty killer. He's playing solid defense. He wins board battles. He's a tenacious guy who uses his speed and his brain to win battles. He's become a very valuable member of this team, right? And there's a guy who a lot of Canadiens fans had written off as recently as, the beginning of this year, right? It's just a good, he's a good example of not giving up on a player, right? The Canadiens fans have a habit of sort of turning on players in very, very quick fashion. But sometimes, you just got to give players a little bit of time and see what they can do. The backdoor new hook goal was impressive. Oops. Dobson taking the hit and Evans delivering. Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic pass by Evans. It was a great play by Newhook to stick with it, right? A lot of players might have given up on that play, but, he stuck with it to the very, very end. The hit on Dobson, the ability for him to take the hit and still make the play, should have been a penalty. Number 17, whoever that is for Buffalo, clearly left his feet, when he made that hit. But again, the standard for what's called and what's not called in the NHL, particularly in the playoffs, is just Zucker is 17, I think. It's just, there's no consistency there. So, what's your take on what's going on with Caulfield? I really feel for the kid. I think he's not getting the same amount of room on the ice that he, is used to getting in the regular season. He's not getting as close to the net. I think the first series was just a really, really tight one, where, he was asked to do more on the defensive side of the game and was given some, they were playing against some pretty offensively talented players. And he just, the defense kind of took precedent over the offense a little bit. And, now in this series, I think he's played quite well. And even in the last game of the Tampa series, I thought he looked really good as well. But he's getting a little bit more, there's a lot more room on the ice in this series than there was last series. We saw tonight he had a number of scoring chances and looked a lot more dangerous. But, the good news is that even though he's not producing at his typical rate, he still is, a contributor to the team and is doing things on the offensive side of the puck, the defensive side of the puck, pardon me. And, I think he's not, it's not like putting him on the ice, puts your team at a disadvantage, and that it's not like the Canadiens have to, think about finding somebody else to play. He can still contribute in other ways, and he's been doing that. But, I feel for him a little bit too. I'm sure he's, he feels a little snake bit, especially after tonight. I think he had, a couple of chances where he probably could have scored. Slavkovsky tried to set him up there for the goal on the 2-on-1, which I thought was, some people criticized that, I think. But, for me, it really is a demonstration of the culture on the team where, these guys are all kind of on each other's side, and they're a tight group. Frank, well, what's up, Frank? Well, you're not doing your show. I thought they, yes, in a perfect world, Slavkovsky probably would have shot that puck, and if it was a tie game or if they were up by a goal or down by a goal, then maybe you would have a bigger problem with that. But I think the fact that Caulfield was in a bit of a slump. I think Slavkovsky trying to set him up kind of shows how tight this group is. Come join us on YouTube, Babs. You got a lot of good questions here. Come join our channel here, YouTube, Recliner Sports 4. Do you think it has to do with the pressure? It took him a few games to go from 49 to 52. No, I don't think it is. He was, he produced in 2021 when the Canadiens were in the playoffs and made a run to the final. He got goals in that series as a rookie. He was fine last year in the playoffs. I don't think it's the pressure. I think it was just, more than anything, I think it had to do with the way the first round series went, where it was a very, very tight defensive, close game, where there wasn't a lot of ice for anybody, himself included. And now he's just kind of, sometimes goal scorers go in they get a little bit streaky sometimes. I can't, Kian. Sorry. I can't. Sorry. have a look at the scoreboard here, guys. Let's go. So there's your shots on goal, 30-28 in favor of the Canadiens. Hits very much favored Buffalo, 44-18, but that would be kind of what you would expect from a game where the Canadiens carried the play, carried the possession. The Canadiens had the puck for the better part of the game, so you would expect Buffalo to have more hits. It also goes to show you that, the quote-unquote physicality of playoff hockey isn't necessarily all that it's made out to be, right? Just because you dominate the quote-unquote physical side of the game doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to win. Canadiens dominated the hits in the game on Wednesday and lost. And tonight they had, less than half as many hits as Buffalo, and they won. Canadiens in the faceoffs, 30-23. Buffalo kind of came back in that regard in the third period. The Canadiens were very far ahead after two periods. 56% to 43%. The power plays, both teams were 0 for 5 on the power play. The Canadiens had 22 penalty minutes called against them to just 12 for Buffalo. That difference is the 10-minute misconduct that was called on Josh Anderson at the end of the game. Giveaways, Buffalo had 13, the Canadiens had 11. Takeaways, the Canadiens had 7, and the Sabres had 4. And the blocked shots were 18-11 in favor of the Canadiens. So now if we get into some of the advanced stuff with natural stat trick here, some of the more advanced stats, in all situations, actually let's do 5-on-5 first. In 5-on-5, the Canadiens, 5-on-5, the Sabres had 43 attempted shots. The Canadiens had just 35. The Canadiens had 29 unblocked shot attempts to 27 by Buffalo. The shots were even, 17-17 at 5-on-5. The Canadiens had 21 scoring chances at 5-on-5, where Buffalo only had 19. The Canadiens had 11 high danger chances to just 7 for Buffalo, and the expected goals were 1.94 to 1.11 for Montreal. And then if you add in the power plays and you go to all scenarios, the Canadiens had 64 to 57 in favor of Buffalo on the shot attempts, 45 to 44 in favor of Montreal on Fenwick. That's unblocked shot attempts. The shots were 28 to 28. Scoring chances were 31 to 28 for the Canadiens, and the high danger chances were 15 to 9. Expected goals were 3.84 to 2.28. You don't want to come and join us on YouTube, Babs? That's okay. I came into the playoffs with no big expectations. I'm really proud of the boys. Yeah, I mean, I think the Canadian season was a success. Even, the fact that they made the playoffs, the fact that they had more points in the standings this year than they did last year. They improved their goal differential this year substantially. Obviously losing in the first round wouldn't have been ideal, even though their opponent this year in Tampa Bay was probably stronger than the one they faced last year with Washington. A more experienced playoff team, a team that was probably tougher to beat. So the fact that they did get by by Tampa Bay, even the fact that they took that series to 7 games and were able to, hold their own and stand their ground against a team like that, was progress from last year. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say I didn't have expectations, but certainly I think I would, even if they had lost to Tampa in the first round, I don't think I would have viewed this season as a failure. And now, here they are in the second round, looking like they're very capable of taking down Buffalo. Obviously, it's a long series, and tonight's night is just one of 7 games potentially in the series. So we shall see how that plays itself out as the series goes on. But certainly they've shown that they can play with Buffalo, right? They're not going to lose to Buffalo because they're overmatched. If you're watching on TikTok, guys, come and join us on our YouTube channel, Recliner Sports 4. User 158 says, what can the Habs do to get more out of Demidov? I don't know. Obviously, they're going to mix and match their lines a little bit. I think Demidov is dealing with some of the same things that Cole Caulfield is dealing with, right? In that first round series, there wasn't a whole lot of room out there on the ice. You got to keep in mind that he's still a kid, still a rookie, just turned 20, or is he might even still be 19. Either way, like, he's still a rookie. I guess technically not his first experience in the playoffs. He did have some experience last year. But yeah, he just turned 20 years old. I mean, yeah, eventually down the road he'll have more offensively talented line mates. But for the time being, I think he's doing fine. He had a fantastic game tonight. He's one of the best players on the ice. He finished with an expected goals percentage in all situations of 88.7%, and in 5-on-5, 92%. So, I don't know that you could really ask much more for, from a 20-year-old kid in the playoffs, is to have a 92% share of the expected goals. I mean, that's near perfection. What would be an ideal 2C to target in the offseason, in my opinion? I don't think the Canadiens should make any trades or sign any free agents, Babs. I don't think that's what they're trying to do in this rebuild. I think their goal is to build their roster from within, from their own organization, to develop their own players. And, I don't think they're trying to make trades and sign free agents. And frankly, I'm happy with that. I'd be more than happy for them to develop those players from within, whether it's Michael Hage or Jarofsky or somebody else. Braden McNabb scores for Las Vegas. The Canadiens won, J-Bro. What role do I think Kapanen will get next year? I don't know. I think there'll be a lot of things going on in training camp. I think in a perfect world, eventually Kapanen probably would be more of a 3C kind of guy, a third line kind of guy who plays both ways, is a very smart player, has a good defensive acumen, doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And can produce some offense a little bit, right? That's what you want from your third line, in my opinion. You want guys who are very steady and solid defensively, but can also produce a little bit. Your fourth line can be more of a role line, like a line where they're more defensively oriented. Your first two lines typically, to me, would be more offensively driven. But again, with the Canadiens, even their first line is a pretty solid, solid opponent on the defensive side of things. Like, Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky are not a fun group to go against, defensively. So I don't know. I mean, again, Kapanen has, looked decent at times, and, he struggled at times. And so I think it'll depend on what Kapanen shows up next year. I think training camp, there'll be a lot of battles in training camp next year. I think guys like Florian Jacki will be looking for a job. Guys like Owen Beck will be looking for a job. And those guys will be right there in the mix. Do I think Galley should be in Game 3? I don't think they should make any changes, Babs. Do you? I don't think they should make any changes after tonight. I thought Veleno was fantastic tonight. The series is tied, Tara, yes. I thought Veleno had a great game. I mean, he demonstrated very clearly early on and then throughout the entire game exactly why it is that you would want him to be in the game, right? You want him in the game because he's quick, he has size, and he's a great forechecker, and he can take a face-off here and there if you need him to. That's not a slight against Gallagher, and I do think they probably should bring Gallagher into the lineup at some point. But I would use Gallagher more as a sort of an injection of energy when you need it, and perhaps not necessarily somebody that I would bring in after a 5-1 win, right? I don't know that that would be. I don't know that that would be the move for me. That's okay, Babs. That's okay. I mean, I find it hard sometimes to analyze and watch the game. I like to as well when I'm on TikTok. So, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. But come on over and join us if you're on TikTok, guys. Come and join us on the YouTube channel. Again, the experience is a little bit better over here. We're still waiting for a few people to show up. Coach Frenchie will probably be on a little bit longer here, but you'll see that he is live. Why do I think Montreal's power play continues to struggle? I don't know that. I mean, overall, it's the numbers on the power play haven't been bad. I mean, tonight was 0 for 5. I mean, things are pretty tight. Buffalo has done a good job. I do think there could be a little bit more movement from the Canadiens on their power play. I think that they could probably use to shoot a little bit more, and I don't say that in the typical way that they need to shoot. I'm not a guy who screams and yells shoot on the power play. In fact, those people drive me crazy. But the reason I say that is because I think the Canadiens are very, very good at creating plays out of chaos. They're really good at creating plays when the other team starts to scramble. And so sometimes when you get shots on goal, it breaks the structure of the other team. When you're just passing the puck around, trying to create or find an opening in their box, if you want to call it that. It's much less likely that their structure is going to break down. But if you start, if you get the puck to the front of the net and get some scrambly play going, yes, you might run the risk of them getting the puck and clearing it out, but you can also create some offense on that because you get them running around a little bit, right? We've seen, how many times have we seen Lane Hudson or Ivan Demidov make a pass, when nobody really, like, it's a pass out of nowhere, right? Where nobody was really expecting it, and all of a sudden they zip a pass across. If you're just passing the puck around on the perimeter, it's going to be a lot harder to break through that box because they're able to maintain their structure. So that's just my thought. But again, their power play looked decent tonight. They obviously didn't produce, but tonight on the power play, the Canadiens were, what do they have? 7 shots on goal. Not terrible. 9 scoring chances for, 3 high danger scoring chances on the power play. So I know it's a long way away, but do you think Montreal matches up well versus Carolina? Yeah, I think they can if they play their game. I mean, the thing with Tampa is Tampa's going to try and impose their style of play on you. If the Canadiens, sort of accept that and sort of play a game in response to Carolina's style, then I think that's probably going to be tough for them. But if they, go and play their game and force Carolina to respond to them, I think it could be a good matchup for Montreal. I mean, Carolina's obviously rolling right now. They haven't had great competition so far in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, again, I think it'll be I think Montreal showed that they can play that kind of series, right? They beat Tampa, and the difference would be, I think, with Carolina is that it's more about forechecking and energy and whatever. But the Canadiens can play that game too. So, in that sense, I guess the answer to your question is yes. The Canadiens can match Carolina when it comes to, speed, forechecking, clogging up the neutral zone, forcing turnovers, that kind of thing. It's very quiet here on YouTube, guys. I wish we could get things going a little bit. How did Montreal do against the Canes in the regular season out of curiosity? I don't know. I know they lost games against them, but I know they beat them as well. Let me see if I can find that out. I mean, let's not get ahead of ourselves too far here either, guys. March 29th, 2026. Montreal won 3-1. Nick Suzuki had 3 points. Cole Caulfield added a goal and an assist. March 24th, 2026. Montreal Canadiens overcame a 2-goal deficit to win 5-2 with goals from Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Kaplan, and Demidov and Evans. And on January 1st, 2026, Montreal won a high-scoring game 7-5. So if you believe AI, that's what we're talking about. I don't know if I necessarily 100% believe that, but I'm going to go look right now. Yeah, the Canadiens won all 3 games against Carolina this year. Yeah, 3-0. So there you go. Who knew? Oliver Stewart, what's up? Am I in Nova Scotia, Babs? I am in Nova Scotia. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, then feel free to hit the subscribe button down below. That would be awesome. But thanks for popping over here. Great to see you. As you can see, it's a little bit of a better experience on YouTube than it is on TikTok. I hope Habs ask Price to bring the torch into the Bell Center. That would be amazing. Yeah, I think they're probably going to do that. I think he's probably one of the ones that they're planning. So we're going to get to see at least 3. No. We're going to get to see at least 2 in this series. Hopefully more. Whereabouts in Nova Scotia? I'm in Halifax. So I would like to see Larry Robinson bring it in. I think that would be cool. But you're right. I think that Carey Price would probably bring down the house a little bit. I don't think Patrick was going to do it. He is a free agent, I guess. But you're from New Brunswick, Babs. Whereabouts in New Brunswick? Where are you in Moncton? Are you in Fredericton? Are you in Miramichi? Somewhere in between? Heartland? Sussex? Woodstock? Shediac? Yeah, I don't know who else would be good names. I mean, guys like Jacques Lemaire could bring it out. Somebody also suggested that maybe Madame Béliveau would bring it out, but that might be tough for her. I'm not sure that she's physically able to do that. PK Subban would be another one, although I think he's probably busy with his ESPN gig. Moncton, okay. So the Canadiens have won their last 4 games against Carolina, but we're not going there yet. We're not going there, guys. Let's not tempt fate. Let's keep it real here. Have I ever been to the Bell Center, loudest building in the league? I have been to the Bell Center multiple times. I also was at the Forum a ton of times when I was younger. I used to go to the Forum all the time. I grew up in Montreal, so I spent a lot of time at the Forum. I've only been to the Bell Center maybe 4 or 5 times. But yeah, it's a great place to watch a game. I've never been to a playoff game at the Bell Center. I've been to playoff games at the Forum. Rackham LaRouge, what's up? Shea Weber for the Torch? Yeah, I guess. I mean, he's not really a long-time Canadian. I don't think he, compares with some of the other guys, but maybe for the younger crowd, I guess. Was the Forum as loud as the Bell Center? Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it's smaller, like a tighter space. The acoustics probably are not the same there, but it could get pretty loud. Yeah, for sure. I was there the night Guy Lafleur made his return to the Forum as a New York Ranger. It got pretty loud that night. It got pretty loud. I think he received probably, like a 7 or 8 minute standing ovation. I was there the night Claude Lemieux scored in overtime to beat the Hartford Whalers. It was pretty loud that night. So yeah, it was a pretty cool place to watch a game. Tap that screen, guys, if you're watching on the TikTok, and if you're over here on YouTube, give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. There's a button down below with a little thumb on it like that. Just tap on that if you enjoy the show. If not, feel free to hit the thumbs down. Yes, the Danish Gretzky, Dale Weiss. I'm trying to think of other great Montreal Canadian playoff heroes that could bring out the. I mean, you've obviously got like. Lapointe could bring it out. Who else? Cornway already did it. Lemaire could do it. Larry Robinson would be a great option. Saku Koivu, yes. That would be another great option, says somebody on user158 on TikTok. Saku Koivu would be. Did Koivu ever win a cup, though? Mats Naslund would be a cool one. Mats Naslund to bring it out. Eric Desjardins would be another one. Mats Naslund, I think, would be a good one. I don't know that Koivu won a cup, but I don't know that that's a prerequisite. But yeah. John Leclerc. Who do we got here? Claude Provo. I don't think he may not be alive anymore. Jacques Lemaire won 8 cups. 3-0 Vegas. Jacques Laperriere would be another one. Guy Lapointe. Frank Mahovlich I don't think is around anymore. Larry Robinson. Bob Gainey would be another option, I suppose. Guy Carbonneau would be one, Brian Rich says. Réjean Houle. I'd rather he didn't bring it out. I don't really need to see Réjean Houle. Steve Shutt. Steve Shutt would be another one. Yeah. Or Mario Tremblay. I think I could take a pass on Mario Tremblay. Who else we got here? Yeah. Claude Lemieux. Claude Lemieux would be another interesting one. Michel Therrien. Yeah, bring Michel Therrien out. That would be a good one. Yeah, again, I'm not. Yeah, I think Price would probably get the loudest ovation just because of the recency situation. I mean, Larry Robinson is the best player of the group, still out there. Markov is another good option. Yeah, yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. Be interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see. Let's get to our. We'll go to our scoreboard here. So the Canadiens opened the scoring at 136. As you see there, Alex Newhook's second goal of the playoffs, assisted by Caden Gooley and Lane Hudson. And then about 3 minutes later at 4:27, Mike Matheson scores from Philip Deneau. Shot from the point by Matheson. Then at 4:47 of the second period, Alex Newhook with his second goal of the game. That's the backdoor goal we talked about earlier. From Jake Evans and Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson absorbs the hit behind his net. Probably should have been a penalty on Zucker. Wouldn't have counted because the Canadiens scored. Then it gets the puck up to Jake Evans, and Jake Evans and Newhook go on a sort of a 2-on-1 kind of thing, and Evans makes a nice pass to Newhook backdoor. Benson, fantastic shift from Benson, guys. Hate the guy or whatever, but it was a fantastic shift from Benson with the forecheck. He creates a turnover behind the net. The Canadiens didn't play badly. It was a weird situation after a 4-on-4 where the Canadiens had 3 defensemen on the ice and 2 forwards. And Benson ends up getting the goal backdoor. Kind of got lost a little bit in the coverage. Again, 3 defensemen on the ice. It kind of maybe threw things off for the Canadiens. A nice pass from Connor Timmins to spot him. That line, Doan, Benson, I guess it's not typically Timmins, but Doan, Benson have been, probably the 2 best players this playoff in a lot of ways for Buffalo. Carrier on the 2-on-1, 3:54 of the the third period to give the Canadiens a 4-1 lead, and then Nick Suzuki ices it with the empty net with a little over 4 minutes left to go. That's his third of the season, assisted by Josh Anderson. So, that's the scoring in tonight's game. I don't know what your thoughts are on that. Hockey Junkie says, will the Sabres beat the Hurricanes in 6 next round when they play them? Could be if they get there. It could happen. But anyways, I know you're just trolling, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on your stupidity. I was hoping Caulfield would score. Yeah, I think we probably all were. I think we were all hoping for that Frenchman. Caulfield played well, but, unfortunately wasn't able to put the puck in the net. Bab says, I'm in Montreal May 28th to 31st, hoping they make the conference finals, and I go outside to watch it. I mean, I don't know how much time you've spent in Montreal in your life, Babs. You could be a regular to Montreal, so I might be telling you things that you already know, but Montreal in the springtime when the Montreal Canadiens are in contention and in the playoffs is the best place in the world to be. It just doesn't get any better than that. They're, the atmosphere, the electricity, the whole city is just on fire. And whether you go to the game at the Bell Center or whether you just go and, watch it on a patio or anywhere, it's just the whole atmosphere of the city is just electric when the Canadiens are in the playoffs. It's a unbelievable place to be. Even if you don't get tickets to the game, it's unbelievable. I've never really watched a game sort of outside like that, like where you're outside the Bell Center watching it on a big screen or whatever. So I'm not sure what that atmosphere is like necessarily, but as far as like going to a bar or a patio somewhere and watching it's unreal. It's just unreal. Tickets are so expensive to go to the Bell Center. Yes, you're right. They are. Babs says, I go really often, never during the playoffs, though. Okay. Springtime in Montreal, the first couple warm days of the year, the Canadiens are in the playoffs. You go down to St. Catherine Street and sit on the patio at Sir Winston Churchill's or or somewhere down in that neck of the woods, it's a pretty awesome place. John Opsel, been there a number of times, but not in the playoffs. If you're on TikTok, guys, come join us on YouTube. We need a few more people over here on YouTube. We got, the experience is much better here. You got graphics, you got all kinds of stuff. We're going to do the A team here shortly, which you won't be able to see on TikTok. But if you join us on YouTube, you'll be able to see the graphics in the A team, and we'll talk about that. The A team is, of course, our version of the stars of the game. I picked the 4 players that I feel were the biggest contributors for the Canadiens, and we talk about that. If you're interested in checking that out, then come on over. All you got to do is open up your YouTube app on your phone, on your computer, and Recliner Sports 4 is our channel. So just type in Recliner Sports 4 and come on over. That would be awesome. That city loves the Habs. Massive crowd outside of the Bell Center. If you notice, Buffalo was a small... Yeah, I mean, Buffalo's a great hockey town, too. I mean, I don't think it compares with Montreal. I mean, there's no real hockey city better than Montreal, to be honest. I mean, that may sound self-serving, but it's just the fact. Buffalo's a smaller city than Montreal as well, so... to expect the same type of numbers, I think, is kind of putting a bit of an unreasonable expectation on Buffalo. Kind of unfair, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I don't think it's a competition that way. Montreal is always going to be a great city for hockey. So, Epic Unicorn just joining from TikTok. Thank you, Epic Unicorn. Welcome to the show. You would love to have it, love to see it. Happy that you're here. Give us a follow down below. Hit the subscribe button down below. Become a member of our crew. Like I said, we're trying to create a place on YouTube for Canadiens fans to gather after games and talk about their team, talk about the game in a bit of a intelligent, more objective way than maybe you'll get in some other places on the internet where there's a lot of trolling and BS that goes on. So we try to keep it real here, try and keep it objective, above board, intelligent. So great to see you, Epic Unicorn. Thank you so much. Allez, Montréal. Simon Tabarnak, welcome. Oui, c'est sûr, c'était un excellent match pour le Canadien ce soir. C'est une victoire de 5-1. Ils nivellent le marque un match chacun avant de retourner à Montréal dimanche contre les Sabres. Alors, c'est un bon match pour le Canadien ce soir, un excellent match pour le Canadien ce soir. Ils ont dominé le match depuis le début du match et on va retourner à Montréal avec une opportunité de prendre une avance dans la série. S'ils continuent de jouer comme ils ont joué ce soir, ça va être un très bon série pour Montréal. Lane Hutson had a great game. Yeah, Lane Hutson has been awesome, period. Like, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, what did I hear? There was a stat they talked about on TVA tonight that Lane Hutson has been on the ice for, what did they say? I think it was 15 of 19 goals for Montreal. I want to check that out, actually. So Lane Hutson has been on the ice for how many goals in these playoffs? How many goals have the Canadiens scored in the playoffs? Somebody want to check that for me? On ice goals. Doesn't give me it gives me the on ice goal percentage, but it doesn't give me the number of goals. Anyways, it is what it is. He's spectacular. In my opinion, Lane Hutson's the best defenseman in the NHL right now. I know that's probably something that people will say I'm a homer about or whatever, but his defensive game is spectacularly underrated. He is, arguably the best offensive defenseman in the league. Not just his own production, but creating opportunities for his teammates. Just a spectacular hockey player. And he's still only 21 years old, 22 maybe, and has a great long career ahead of him. I would I would not. There's not a defenseman in the NHL that I would trade 1-for-1 for Lane Hutson right now. Not any defenseman in the NHL. Not one. New Hook Dark Horse. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Dukes, but New Hook had another great game for Montreal. He was very good in the last game as well. And again, playoff performer, right? There's the only guy in the Canadiens who has a Stanley Cup ring, right? The only player on the Montreal Canadiens that has a Stanley Cup ring. And he's on a great contract. You're right, user 158. He's, on a great contract right now, but he starts a new contract next year, which is going to keep him in the organization for quite some time. Oui, Montréal a gagné, le petit. Ils ont gagné 5-1. Liberty, liberty. What's going on, guys? We're all clammed up here. Come on, join us on YouTube, guys. Come on over from TikTok. Join us on YouTube. I'm going to do the A team for tonight's game. I'm going to do that in about 4 or 5 minutes. So the Canadiens won, Anto. The Canadiens won 5-1. Anybody have questions over here on YouTube, guys? Anyone want to talk about the game? What do we want to talk about? Who were your players of the game? Who were the guys that you thought performed at the highest level for the Montreal Canadiens tonight? You can't give up 4 2-on-1s and just fall all over the ice and expect to compete. Tough game for the Sabres. Okay, I'm not sure I agree with that assessment, but it is what it is. I mean, the Canadiens, you can argue that Buffalo played badly, but I think more than anything, the Canadiens played well. Dobesh was strong in nets, as user 158 says. The Canadiens, played their game, heavy forecheck, creating turnovers in the defensive zone, clogging up the neutral zone, all that good stuff, taking advantage of their opportunities. I thought they did really well. All right, let's do the A team, guys. Let's get to it. So if you're if you're watching on TikTok, guys, come join us here on YouTube. We're doing the A team. The graphic is up. Our A team for tonight. The A team, of course, is our version of the stars of the game. The 4 players that I choose, who I believe were the biggest contributors for the Canadiens. Certainly would welcome your input if you think I'm crazy, if you think I picked some guys that don't deserve to be there, or if there's guys who you think need to be there but weren't there. Certainly let me know. If you want to post in the comment section, you want to post who your 4 members of the A team would be if you were picking it, then I'd love to hear that as well. So my A team tonight is Alex Newhook, Lane Hutson, Ivan Demidov, and Jakub Dobesh. I think Alex Newhook is pretty self-explanatory. 2 goals tonight. What can you say? I mean, and it's not just about the offensive production that he's bringing. It's he's become a very solid defensive player. He's killing penalties. He's effective. In all areas of the ice. He doesn't have to be scoring goals or producing offense in order to be to be contributing to this team. And tonight he added the offense, but he was very good in all other ways as well. A heavy contributor on the penalty kill. The Canadiens killed off 5 penalties tonight. Lane Hutson, again, just another typical Lane Hutson game. I've said this before. Lane Hutson is a guy who could potentially be in your 3 stars or your A team on just about every given night. Tonight was no different. At 5-on-5, he had a 75% expected goals percentage in all situations. He had basically the same, 74.4. On ice goals, 0.71 on ice goals against expected goals against 0.37. So again, not only is Hutson producing offensively and doing, the things that people expect him to do, he's also become a very solid defender. He rarely gets beat. Killing penalties tonight. I don't know how much time he spent on the PK. He killed, not very much, but he was 39 seconds. So 40 seconds on the PK tonight. A fantastic game, as usual, for Lane Hutson. Ivan Demidov, perhaps not the most spectacular game from him, like not what people expect to see from him, but in all situations tonight, he was 76.6% expected goals percentage on 5-on-5. He was 73.9%. So that means that 3/4 of the scoring opportunities that occur when Ivan Demidov is on the ice are in favor of the Canadiens, and that's pretty impressive, right, for a 21-year-old kid or a 20-year-old kid, pardon me, rookie in the NHL. Pretty solid, and of course Jakub Dobash, another great game. 1.24 goals saved above expected. Probably not the hardest game he's ever had to play, but at the same time, made the saves that needed to be made. Gave the Canadiens a chance to win. And again, at 1.24 goals saved above expected is not something to sneeze at. 962 save percentage, 977 on unblocked shots. So yeah, just pretty special performance by Jakub Dobash, not just tonight, but over the last several weeks since the playoffs started. Let's get to, we got a bunch of questions. So yeah, if you guys have, if there's anybody on that list that you think I got completely wrong, let me know. If there's anybody you would put on there that I haven't put on there, let me know. If you've got your own, group of 4 guys, I would certainly be happy to hear that as well. I love Josh Anderson more and more every year. Yeah, I mean, I love him too. I mean, I know there's a lot of people in the Montreal fan base that had given up on Josh Anderson. People are loving him now, right? But again, sometimes Canadiens fans are quick to turn on players. Josh Anderson's no different, but he's playing pretty solid now. I believe Habs will win 2 games at home and take the series game in 6. Yeah, they could. I mean, I'm not a predictor. I don't do predictions, but yeah, I mean that's a very possible way for this to happen. We'll see. Connor Compton, talk a bit about the Habs and the staff are able to analyze and adapt to play a different style and shut Buffalo down this game. Yeah, I don't think it's so much that they adapted to... Oops, what did I just do? I did that wrong. I didn't publish that question. There we go. I think for the most part tonight, I thought it was more of a case of the Canadiens returning to their own style of play as opposed to trying to respond to what Buffalo was doing, right? I think they were... I think they got away from their game a little bit in Game 1. But I do think they played well in Game 1. The Canadiens were, unlucky a little bit in the last game. I thought they played well even in the first period when they gave up 2 goals. You had the unfortunate and unlucky play where Hudson tripped and fell and allowed Buffalo to go in on the 2-on-1 where they scored the first goal. You had 2 soft penalty calls, 2 soft tripping penalty calls in the first period that kind of put the Canadiens behind the 8 ball. Then it kind of forced them to chase the game a little bit. It put a little bit of wind in Buffalo's sails, and it forced the Canadiens to kind of chase the game. And I don't think they were able to get back in the game. I missed this question earlier from Babs. I recall I saw someone with a board on his wall with the full roster from Montreal, Laval, and Trois-Rivières. That is me? Yes, that is me, Babs. That is my obsession. You think those 4 are bang on? Yeah, I mean, again, it's a pretty good game for Montreal. I think there's some other guys. Nick Suzuki obviously had a solid game. I talked earlier about how impressed I was with Joe Veleno. Again, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't appreciate what Joe Veleno does, but I think if you have eyes and you understand hockey and you watch Joe Veleno tonight, I think you should at least have a better understanding of why he's in the lineup. His size, his pace, his forechecking, his willingness to get physical and get his nose dirty. He can take a face off here and there if he needs to. I think I thought he was pretty good again tonight, and again, I have no problem with Gallagher. I have no problem with Kapanen. I just think that Veleno got his chance, and he's making the most of it right now, and I don't see them making any changes with the victory. So yeah, I don't have a problem with Veleno staying in the game. Game 3. Again, I'd be very surprised if the Canadiens made any changes to the roster going into to Game 3 at home. Hey, there's Billy D. What's going on, Billy D? Welcome. There's Billy D. The Coach Frenchie's probably done. That means Billy D and some of the others will roll in, hopefully. Swarmhammer says could be Gallagher Game 3. I wouldn't put Gallagher in Game 3. Again, I have no problem with Gallagher, and if they did put him in Game 3, I'm sure he would be fine. Dono, just quickly, Dono wants to know how Suzuki ended up in face-offs. Suzuki ended up at 56.3% on face-offs. I think Buffalo made a bit of a run in the third period on the face-offs. He was at 75%, I think, after the first period. I'm not sure where he was after the second, but yeah, I've got no problem with Gallagher. I don't, I don't have a problem with any of those three guys. But right now, Veleno has the ball, and he's been doing, what he needs to do to keep it, and I got no problem with him. Yeah, Deneau ended up at 66 or 67% on faceoffs. Jake Evans was 63.6%. So yeah, three guys dominated. We need to bench Arbor. Who's we? And if you mean the Montreal Canadiens coaching staff, I think you're a lunatic. If you think that they need to bench Arbor, I think you're kind of off your rocker a little bit. 5-1 channel, or 5-1 final. Why the change? I think the change had to do with the fact that the Canadiens got some bounces early on in the game that they didn't get in Game 1. I think that in Game 1 you had the unfortunate trip where Hudson fell down and they were able to the Sabres went in on a 2-on-1 and scored. A couple soft calls in the first period of Game 1 that the Canadiens allowed a power play goal on the second one, and they just ended up chasing the game a little bit. I didn't think they played badly in the first game. Tonight, I think they came out and they were playing their game, and they scored early. Right in the first game, Hudson had a chance to score early in the game and hit the post. I think if that puck goes in the net, then maybe you're looking at a little bit of a different game. And they didn't end up chasing the game, which allowed them to play their style, use their forecheck, create turnovers in the neutral zone and in the defensive zone. I think they were able to do all those things tonight and get a little bit comfortable. And let's not forget that Buffalo's a young team too, right? Their ability to deal with adversity is similar to the Canadiens, and in fact they're in some ways, from a playoff perspective, they're even younger than Montreal. While they might not be as young, in an age perspective, as far as experience is concerned, they are, in a lot of ways, a younger team. And so their ability to deal with those, being behind by 2 goals so early in the game, kind of allowed Montreal to carry the play. And Montreal was able to play their game, right? They skated hard, they forechecked, all that stuff, right? I don't think that's grounds for benching him, Coach. I don't think you're benching Arbor Xhekaj. First of all, you're not benching anybody after a 5-1 victory. I think if you have a problem with that penalty that Arbor Xhekaj took, I think you need to sort of try and figure out and understand how difficult it is for a guy who has the role that Arbor Xhekaj has to know the standard of what he's allowed to do on the ice and what he's not allowed to do when the referees are calling the game so inconsistently. Like if you want to tell me that you thought that was a slash that Arbor Jackeye did to Jordan Greenway, he basically was tapping him on the back of his pants to try and make him answer for the hit on Demidov. I don't think he did anything out of the ordinary on that play. I mean, from a kid his age who's trying to find his way in the NHL and play a certain role, I think he's done it quite well of late as far as controlling his emotions. But if you're going to tell me that was a slash, then I'm going to tell you. I mean, I don't know how a kid that age, with that level of experience, is supposed to know what he's allowed to do and what he's not allowed to do. Billy D says, I'm biased as a Newfoundlander, but I've been singing Newhook's praises all year. Yeah, I mean, Newhook's been again, I've said it already a couple times tonight. For me, Newhook scored 2 goals tonight, and that's what people are going to talk about. But the reality for Newhook is he's been reborn as a player in a lot of ways, right? It's like he's a guy who has figured out what he needs to do to contribute to this team, and he's embraced it and taken it on, and is now playing a role on the team that he probably has never ever played in his entire life. Right, he's a guy who's now expected to do things on the defensive side of the puck. He's killing penalties. He's much better at winning board battles. He's a better forechecker. He's become a much more well-rounded player. But he's also created a role for himself on this team, right? If it wasn't for him figuring that out or working on that with the coaching staff, he'd be a guy who was probably going to struggle to find a way to contribute on this team and to be a part of this team long term, right? Like he'd be competing with the likes of Kapanen and Beck and Florian Jackeye and all those guys for sort of that third role or or third line kind of guy. And now he's made himself kind of indispensable. He's one of the team's top penalty killers, and he's putting the puck in the net a little bit. So good for him. I know you're biased as a Newfoundlander, but I don't think you're wrong either. I don't think you're wrong because he's been pretty special in a lot of big moments for the Montreal Canadiens of late. You think we'll see Kapanen again in these playoffs? I don't know. I mean, will we see him again? Yeah, I think we'll see him again in the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think he's lost his role on the team, or but I think right now you're probably going to see Veleno continue to get the play as long as the Canadiens keep winning. Well, we're going to get a fight here. I think there was a bad hit from behind. No? I think you're going to see Veleno get to, stay in the lineup as long as the Canadiens keep winning. And then, the next step will be to bring Gallagher in. If the Canadiens lose a game or need an injection of energy, I think you'll probably see Gallagher come in and, maybe, as Swarmhammer says, if there's an injury. I didn't know what you meant, King Gino. I don't know if you'll see him. Again, I would have no problem. I mean, I think he's a good hockey player, and I don't think the reason he's out of the lineup is because, he can't play anymore. I don't think he's the best option at the moment. right? I think if he came back in the lineup, he could very well contribute. Yeah, he's young. Absolutely, King Gino. I don't, he's young. I think that Marty St. Louis has a high opinion of him. I think he respects his game, respects his, what he brings to the lineup. And yeah, I personally, I have no problem with Kapanen. I have no problem with Gallagher. I have no problem with Leno. I think the Canadiens are well served by either any of those three guys. They all bring a little bit of a different component. Kapanen's a really, really smart player. I mean, the other thing you got to keep in mind with Kapanen is every year he gets better, right? Like last year he struggled. He ended up making the team at a training camp, struggled a little bit, got sent back to Finland, or back to Sweden, I guess he played. Came in this year, was much better than he was last year. It was a little bit up and down, kind of struggled a little bit at times. But, what do you have, 21, 22 goals this year? Significant improvement on last year. And then, he's a smart kid. He's going to figure it out, right? He knows what to do to get better. And, I would only expect him to get even improve even more for next year. Yeah, same. Yeah, Slavkovsky, similar, right? Same age. In fact, I think he's probably a little older than Slavkovsky, but smart kid, right? Understands the game, high hockey IQ, on both sides of the puck. Would be an ideal third liner on this team, down the road, or even better. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I mean, he's just a guy who continues to get better. Line A is done for. I believe he stopped loving the game a long time ago. Yeah, I don't think that's right, Swarmhammer. I think you don't understand. I don't think you understand Patrick Laine if you think that's the case. I don't think you've been following closely enough. I think if he didn't love the game, I don't think you'd see him hanging around the team as much as he does. I don't think you'd see him in the dressing room after games. I don't think you'd see him high-fiving the teammates. I don't know what's going on with Patrick Laine. I don't know what his situation is. But I think he had a lot of issues. He's got mental health issues. I think he's found a love for the game in Montreal. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like going forward, whether it's a scenario where they re-sign him at a fraction of what he was making before and keep him around the team, or whether they've got a plan in place. There just seems to be something going on behind the scenes that we don't really know about. I also wish him the best, King Gino. I don't like talking flippantly about people's lives and careers, so 4-0 Vegas. Just can't have him on the ice. Too much liability defensively. Again, I don't think you're right, King Gino. I don't think you're right about that either. Like, I mean, I don't think that Patrick Laine has played a single healthy game as a Montreal Canadien, right? Goes out, gets knee on knee against the Toronto Maple Leafs in the preseason last year. Comes back early, doesn't have surgery when probably would have been best if he had surgery. Comes back, obviously plays really, really well offensively, but I don't think he ever really had his legs under him. This year he gets a sports hernia 5 games into the season. You could probably say that he probably had that sports hernia before that affected his play. So again, I would personally love to see Patrick Laine get an opportunity to play 100% healthy for the Canadiens. Maybe the knee injury has slowed him down significantly, and he'll never have his legs back under him again. Maybe that's the case, but I don't think I don't think we can make a judgment on Patrick Laine from any aspect. I don't know why we're talking about Patrick Laine right now, but I don't think it's fair to judge him on what we've seen from him as a Canadian, other than the fact that he did some pretty amazing things for the team last year, despite being injured and coming back well before most people would have. Yeah, well, again, when Doc gets a chance to have a period of time where he's healthy and get his confidence and whatever, he's a good hockey player. Kirby Dach. I mean, again, there's another player that everybody quit on. Everybody quit on Kirby Dach. Everybody quit on Slavkovsky. Everybody quit on Joe Valeno. Everybody quit on Josh Anderson. Everybody quit on Gallagher, right? Like, Canadiens fans can be so fickle. Um, a player struggles a little bit, and all of a sudden, they want him, fired into the moon in a rocket ship, or into the sun in a rocket ship. So I'm not that kind of fan. I like the Montreal Canadiens. I cheer for the Montreal Canadiens. I hope for them to do better. You're very happy about the first overall pick? Yeah, I would be too, Zach. Um, Be interesting to see what goes on with that pick, what they do with it. I mean, I don't know that one pick is really going to be a big difference for Toronto. I think there's a lot more work to be done there, but it's a great time to be a Habs fan. So, the rebuild is well on its way. It's working. It's been successful so far. It continues to move forward, and I look forward to seeing how it goes. Yeah, again, I don't think you really know what you're talking about there, Gooch, but whatever. You hope that it's McKenna, Zach? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, McKenna to me, I don't know. I don't know that he's the obvious choice for Toronto, to be honest with you. I still believe he was the steal of the current lineup. Well, I don't think he was as much of a steal as Lane Hudson was at 62nd overall in the draft, if that's what we're talking about. But I personally think, Zach, it would be a decent move for them to trade down to somewhere around 4 or 5, get a significant asset in return, and then draft one of the defensemen. Okay, Gooch, if you want to be a tool, be a tool, but, whatever. Matty B, what's up? All right, guys, I don't know. We've been on for about an hour and 20 minutes. You're being a tool, Gooch, because you're talking crap about a guy who dealt with significant mental health issues, right? He struggled with that. He's talked openly about it. He's faced it head on, and he's made a significant effort to come back to loving hockey again, right? He talked, when he first came to Montreal, he talked about how he had almost given up on the game, and that he almost had quit and didn't want to play anymore, and wanted to come to Montreal because he wanted to find the love for the game again and enjoy coming back to the rink. He's spoken about the fact that he now does enjoy coming back to the rink, and that Montreal helped him find that. Unfortunately for him, he was injured in his second preseason game pretty significantly, blew his knee out, came back at Christmas time last year. Despite the fact that the doctors advised him to have surgery, he chose not to have surgery and came back early. Played when he probably shouldn't have. And when his leg was still injured, he came back and just wanted to play. Was clearly hampered in a lot of ways by that injury, and wasn't able to perform in all aspects of the game the way he probably would have liked to. He scored a number of goals and did some pretty fantastic things for the team that helped them make the playoffs last year. Rehabbed through the better part of the offseason, worked really hard, showed up at the CN Center for throughout the entire summer, worked really hard to come back, and then was injured again early on in the season last year with the sports hernia, or this year, pardon me, with the sports hernia, and hasn't played a game since the 5th game of the season. So to suggest that, to denigrate him and to talk trash about him under those circumstances, I think that's being a bit of a tool. I think, considering all of the, if you want to talk about his plus minus since 2020, then that's fine. You're probably right. He probably hasn't had a positive plus minus since then. But, there's a lot more nuance and a lot more context to that player over the last 5 or 6 years, right? And so, in that sense, when you're talking about a player who, has had some struggles, and not to sort of acknowledge the fact that, he dealt with what he dealt with and has also, had some, serious injury concerns of late, I think is, it's either you not being well informed or it's you, criticizing a guy even though you know that those things exist. So that's why I thought you were being a tool. I apologize that I had to take all that time to explain that, but if you want me to be honest with you and tell you why I think you were being a tool, that's why. All right, gang. I think that's going to probably be it for tonight. Doesn't look like we're going to get much of a crowd coming over from Coach Frenchie tonight. We had Billy D was in here for a second, but I don't know if he's still around. If you are enjoying the show, give us a thumbs up. If you're watching live or if you're watching later on in a replay, then we certainly would appreciate it. Let us know what you think. If you would like to be a part of the Recliner Sports family, you can hit the button down below, hit the subscribe button. What do I think about Montembeault? I don't know. We'll see what happens next year. I mean, it wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility that he could make the team next year and give. I mean, I don't think it would hurt Jacob Fowler to spend some more time in Laval. But we'll see. I mean, I think he'll get a chance to go to camp next year, and I think there'll be 3 or 4 goalies there, all competing for the job. And I don't think it's ideal for Fowler to be in the NHL playing backup to Dobesh at his age and at his stage of his development where he is only going to play 20, 25 games. I think it's better for him to be somewhere where he can play 45, 50, 55 games. Well, he might be Hansch, but he's not finished. He's going to get an opportunity. I mean, again, would you prefer to see Jacob Fowler play 20, 25 games next year? I don't think that's ideal for his development. I think, you want him to go somewhere where he can play a lot. So, again, Montembeault has demonstrated that he's capable of being a very good goaltender in the NHL. He obviously didn't do that this year and, struggled and, but he, if he refines his form and, shows up to camp next year and plays well enough to get the job, I don't think it would be a terrible thing for him to be Dobesh's backup and for Fowler to be able to go to Laval and, have an entire year in the American Hockey League where he dominates and, develops, what he needs to develop to become an NHL goaltender. All right, that's all she wrote, guys. I hope that you enjoyed the show. Like I said, if you're new here, hit the subscribe button down below. If you enjoy the content, hit the thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to fire away. I'd love to answer them. But for now, Montreal Canadiens 5-1 victory over the Buffalo Sabres. The series is tied 1-1. Heads back to Montreal for Game 3 on Sunday. I'm not sure what game time is on Sunday. I suspect it'll probably be in the evening. I don't know if it'll be a bit of an early start, but it's probably going to be 7 p.m. Eastern start. Canadiens will look to take the lead and will look to take a stranglehold on the series. Big game tonight for the Canadiens. Alex Newhook with 2 goals. Jakub Dobeš with another very solid performance in net, giving his team a chance to win. And the Canadiens are now tied 1-1 with Buffalo Sabres in round 2 of the playoffs. So that's it for tonight. I hope you did enjoy the show. Have a wonderful night. Thanks so much for popping by, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.
To Hoffman, Monahan parked in front, docks to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.